Hey everyone, what's up? Today I'm going to be doing a palm flip tutorial. Last video I mentioned that I had some pretty crazy stuff planned for the upcoming video. I'm going to have to postpone that, but I will be filming it in about 2 days. So stay tuned for that, but this video is just going to be the tutorial. Alright, so for palm flips, the prerequisites, it's just a backflip. If you can do a backflip, you'll be able to do one. It wouldn't hurt to know another wall flip, like just a wall flip, wall backflip, just to be comfortable with doing flips off of a wall, but it's definitely not required. Okay, something you will need to learn the palm flip is something like this, something like a mattress. It's really just anything soft that you feel comfortable landing on. It could be like pillows, you could just get a tarp or a blanket, stuff it with pillows. Just something that you'd be comfortable landing on your back from height with. Alright, so I'm going to start out first teaching the technique, then the progression that you should go through to do the palm flip, and then finally just some tips and just stuff to help with your technique. Okay, so for the technique itself, you can do a gather step, or you can really just approach the wall however you want, but it does help to get a little bit of speed. So I do 2 steps, hands on the wall, and then for the actual flip itself, you're going to jump into the wall. And that's really important, because I think a mistake a lot of people make, and I used to make it when I started learning them, is I would just do a backflip and then try to touch the wall. And you don't want to do that, because it's going to really mess up the technique, and it's actually going to make it harder to land. So what you're going to want to do is actually jump into the wall, push your hands into the wall. So you can just practice just jumping and pushing off, because if you jump into the wall before you push off, you're not going to be able to generate any spin. So when you're doing the flip itself, you'll jump, and then as you push, you'll bring your knees up and through, and then it's just a matter of tucking and then spotting your landing. Okay, so for the progression, if you can get your mattress or pillows or whatever you have, position it on the floor next to where you're going to be doing it. If you practice doing that motion of jumping into the wall and then bringing your knees through, and then just landing on your back from the wall, so it'll look like this. What that does is that really helps you feel the motion, because sometimes if you just look at it and then you try to do it, what you end up doing is just a backflip, and then you're just at greater risk of injuring yourself, landing on your neck, if you're not fully kicking and then driving your knees through. So what helps is watching the wall, watching your knees come up, over, and then just landing on your back there. Alright, as you get more and more comfortable with that, you can start trying to go higher, bringing your hands higher up on the wall, putting in more power, maybe even rolling over to your side once you land on your back. That would look like this. You can even start rolling over, doing like a back somersault, completing that flipping motion. But at a certain point, you just kind of have to send it. As long as you're here, even if it's too low to the ground, you're not going to hurt yourself, as long as you stay over the mat. And here's what that would look like. Really, once you just send one flip, it's pretty easy to just take the mats away, or just spread the mats out so you still have a soft landing, but it's not going to hinder how you come into the ground and spot your landing. Because it's going to be harder if you're doing it up high. You're going to have less time to rotate, so you're probably not going to land it when you send it for the first time. But if you spread out the mats, spread out whatever you're using, it will be easier to land. Alright, the final section of this tutorial, just the tips for landing them better, landing them cleaner. I think the first one is where you end up placing your hands on the wall. You kind of want to find a sweet spot. If you're going too low, obviously you're not going to be able to get a good rotation. You're probably going to be landing like hands and feet. But on the other hand, if you're going too high, it's going to be harder. So you just kind of want to find that sweet spot. It's normally about, if you just put your hands on the wall without jumping, put them as high as they can go. It's normally about there, because when you jump, that's at a pretty good height to do it. So that's a good way kind of to find out. But I'm just going to kind of demonstrate doing it too low and then doing it too high, what that would look like. So here's too low. see, I came in super low. You can still land them if you're doing it on a wall that's pretty short that ends. It doesn't go up pretty high. You might have to do it low, and that does help if you're doing parkour lines situations, especially if it's like a pole palm flip. So you can learn to land those, but in general, if you have the space, you should go about like full arm extension height. This spider's right in my way. All right, and then an example of going too high would look like this. So those you normally end up landing, but they're just kind of chaotic, but it's really just best to find that sweet spot. Here's an example of a good palm flip. Alright, finally, if you're worried about clipping your toes, it actually is pretty rare to do. I've only ever done it once, and when it did happen, I still landed it. It was just kind of scary. But if you are worried about it, it can help to watch your feet as they drive through, instead of just looking like straight back into the backflip. As you put your hands on the wall, you can watch them drive through, kind of watch that space in between the wall. It's really not that big of a deal. It's more of a mental thing, but it can help you get over that fear. All right, that's all for today. It is a pretty scary move. I think a lot of people learn it in a gym, so if you have access to a gym, I would definitely recommend prepping it, or even trampolines. If you can move a trampoline up next to a wall, that does help, but that only works if you don't have a net. You don't really need to though, as long as you just have a wall like this. In general, I wouldn't recommend doing a brick wall when you start, but it really doesn't matter. The only thing that's really in danger of clipping is feet, and even still, that's pretty rare. As long as you're landing them high enough, should be fine. Well, I hope this tutorial helped. I hope you come back for the next video. I've got some pretty crazy stuff planned. Maybe thinking about doing a cork pre, but we'll see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.